Hello, my name is Elizabeth Odell, and this is my Masters of Literacy portfolio. The first page I would like to address is foundational knowledge. Foundational knowledge includes the major cornerstones of literacy instruction, including the Big Five of phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. As a future literacy specialist, I need to be confident in my understanding and explicit instruction in these areas. My artifact is a foundational skills brochure on concepts of print that meets standards 5.1, 5.4, and 6.3. Through this artifact, I provided my peers with an informational brochure that they could provide to parents regarding concepts of print. This brochure can increase parent-teacher communication and provide support at home for students and parents. This artifact is supported through the emergent literacy theory and the stage models theories of reading theory, as concepts of print are included as a crucial step in early literacy development. These theories support Standard 1.3 and show my understanding of the development of language through speaking and listening as prerequisites to reading and writing. My second page focuses on reading curriculum and instruction. My first artifact, Road to Reading Instruction, meets standards 2.1, 2.3, 5.1, 5.3, and 7.1. Road to Reading is a reading intervention program that focuses on helping prevent and remediate reading difficulties that some students may have. The five-step process consists of letter-sound recognition, soundboard manipulation, phonetically regular and high-frequency word recognition, decodable text readings, and dictation words and sentences. I implemented this program with a first-grade student, and each week we worked on different words that contained final E syllable types. My second artifact is the SIPS intervention program that addressed Standard 2.1. During my time in the literacy program, I was able to research and teach various intervention programs. One program that I investigated in collaboration with two peers was the SIPS program. This artifact demonstrates my ability to critically evaluate an intervention program with colleagues in a collaborative effort. My third artifact addresses standards 6.1 and 6.3 as I worked collaboratively with my group to uncover the importance of asking students text-dependent questions to scaffold close reading instruction. In this book club experience, I was able to lean closely on the theory of social constructivism because close reading provides scaffolding with text-dependent questions to help students make sense of what they read and supports students in collaboration. I demonstrated my understanding of this theory and the information presented in the text through my close reading lesson and listed in my fourth artifact. I created this close reading lesson for 9th grade English students based on Engaged New York modules to align my teaching to the next generation learning standards and the expectations for the grade. Using the complex text, St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves, I had students engage in a close reading expectation. These include reading a text multiple times, annotating a text for evidence of the purpose for reading or text-dependent questions, and a final discussion after the reading. This artifact demonstrates my abilities to address standards 2.3, 5.3, and 5.4. The comprehension instruction artifact highlights ILA standards 2.3, 3.1, 5.3, 7.1, and 7.3. Comprehension, like most literacy skills, can be improved when the teacher provides explicit instruction. I demonstrated my understanding of comprehension skills and instruction through the two artifacts listed on the right. First, I developed a mini-lesson for a high school English language learner who was having difficulty comprehending grade-level texts. The second artifact represents an activity I created to demonstrate the difference between the three types of comprehension questions. These two artifacts represent my understanding of comprehension instruction and the crucial role it plays in the literacy classroom. The following empirical articles support Standard 1.3 and my knowledge of the language development through interrelated components. Page 3 of my portfolio highlights my completion of Standards 1.2, 2.3, 3.4, 5.3, 6.1, 6.3, 7.1, 7.3, and 7.4. Artifacts 1 and 2 represent my Teachers as Writers blog and my culminating presentation that allowed me to delve deeper into my writing philosophy as a learner and as an educator. I developed narrative stories on Google Docs, informational pieces on Adobe Spark, and poetic creations across multiple platforms. I then reflected on my process and thought metacognitively about my revisions, new understandings, and how these can influence my instruction. This artifact helped me to engage with the tasks I was asking my student to complete. Through Artifact 3, Providing Student Feedback, I demonstrated my understanding of evidence-based feedback and literacy leadership through reflective practices regarding my feedback. I understand the importance of providing constructive, strategy-based feedback to my students to encourage them and strengthen their writing. Artifact 4 highlights a group mini lesson I created to help students revise their poetry with the explicit strategy of personification. I also included a variety of mentor texts to show the use of personification through helpful examples. My lesson was rooted in next-generation learning standards and promoted strategy instruction in the literacy classroom. This final artifact represents the benefits of incorporating multimodal sources and creating text in a digital format. Students can add pictures, videos, transitions, engaging themes, and more to connect with their readers. For our students to succeed in a digital world, I must provide them with opportunities and to explore various platforms for creating writing pieces and publishing their final works. My writing philosophy is a blend of the socio-cultural perspective of writing, the new literacies theory, and the cognitive perspective of writing, which all address Standard 1.2. The following empirical articles demonstrate my understanding of writing components regarding diverse learners and the overall writing process. My fourth page centers around 21st century literacy that is supported through the new literacies theory and the inquiry theory that address Standards 1.3. Through the Book Creator Digital Sandbox, EPIC, and ABC Duolingo artifacts, I represented my knowledge of Standards 5.3, 5.4, 6.1, 6.3, 2.1, and 5.1, as I integrated and evaluated a variety of different digital tools to promote a literacy-rich environment. The next two artifacts address inquiry learning experiences that I encouraged student exploration in a digital and in-person setting and promoted asking questions, researching solutions, and presenting the findings. The following empirical articles highlight the impact of modern technology on reading, writing, and addressing Standards 1.2 and 1.3. Through my fifth page, Literacy Leadership, I address Standards 2.3, 3.1, 3.4, 5.1, 5.3, 5.4, 6.1, 6.3, 7.1, 7.3, and 7.4. As I engaged collaboratively with peers, communicated my findings to the appropriate stakeholders, and reflected on my practice. The family literacy theory addressing Standard 1.3 is considered throughout this page as the importance of homeschool communication and a literacy-rich environment is highlighted. Through the case report and parent communication artifacts, I demonstrated effective written communication to the parents and district representatives for the spring practicum. My final report will help the district and future teachers identify what supports my student received and how she scored on various literacy assessments. The report will also go to her family and provide them with an overview of the instruction and activities they can work on with her at home to promote her reading skills. This artifact helped me to work on my professional communication and how to provide a thorough report of the instruction that a student received. The remaining four artifacts allowed me to reflect on my life experiences and practicum instruction and collaborate with colleagues and professionals. I evaluated my practicum instruction by keeping a record of feedback I received and adapted my future plans to provide students with reflective, evidence-driven instruction. The creation of my autobiographical sketch allowed me to understand that not every student will have the rich literacy home environment that I had when I was growing up. And in connection with the family literacy theory, I identified the importance of providing rich literacy experiences that inspire student learning and growth. The sixth page, Diversity and Equity, addresses Standards 2.3, 3.1, 5.1, 5.4, and 6.1. I included this page to highlight the importance of the unique experiences that our diverse students present. As an educator, I feel that one of the most important roles a teacher can play in the classroom is to facilitate a safe space where all students feel free to be themselves and engage with the learning happening in the classroom. Through the first artifact, I was able to identify the different language learning disabilities and how to help students who may have that disability. I learned what characteristics to look for, strengths and areas of growth, test accommodations, classroom modifications, technology aids, and other related services that would benefit the students in the various categories. I also created a more thorough version of this matrix through my collaborative receptive language disorder presentation that I created with a peer and presented to the entire class. In addition, I created a literature review looking at the research on how teacher and school employee assumptions impact the development of English language learners, both culturally and academically. My topic is crucial to understanding diversity and all students in our schools. As supported through the theories listed below, the social learning theory and the sociolinguistic theory, educators must be engaging in culturally responsive teaching that values diversity and includes all students. This artifact allowed me to explore the pre-existing research on this topic regarding all students and better understand the theories related to the development of diverse learners. The social learning theory and the sociolinguistic theory both highlight standards 1.3 and 1.4, and the sociolinguistic theory also highlights standard 1.2. The following empirical articles influence my perspective as an educator regarding various diverse groups of students, including the Black Girls Literacy Framework and the Critical Indigenous Literacies empirical articles. Page 7 highlights the peer coaching exercises that I have completed for my peers and have received as feedback to include in my own instruction. All 5 artifacts allowed me to address standards 2.3, 6.1, 6.3, 7.3, and 7.4. These artifacts demonstrate my ability to communicate collaboratively with peers and accept feedback to improve my classroom practices. I solidified the importance of incorporated standards-based, assessment-driven goals that are targeted through daily learning targets that are provided to the student before and after instruction. The gradual release of responsibility theory addresses standards 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4, and is modeled and assessed in the artifacts on this page. On page 8, Assessments and Evaluation, I address standards 2.3, 3.1, 3.4, 5.1, 5.3, 5.4, and 6.3. There is a wide variety of assessments that each produce different data results. As a literacy specialist, I must understand the purposes, strengths, limitations, and directions for administration for a variety of assessments to determine which ones will be most effective for my needs and the needs of my students. With a small group, I created this assessment toolkit in Artifact 1 that separates assessments by category of the literacy area that it addresses. In Artifact 2, I demonstrated how to use appropriate assessments and to report my findings to the appropriate stakeholders to help my student and to help support them. This assignment shows that I can interpret and analyze data from multiple sources to help inform my instruction. The following 2 artifacts represent assessments I created to measure my students' development and to encourage metacognitive practices. The Next Generation Learning Standards provide New York State educators with specific guidance regarding the expectations and goals for students at each grade level. Teachers should utilize the standards in conjunction with assessment data to drive their instruction. On page 9, I address the importance of a positive learning environment, and my artifacts support standards 2.3, 5.1, 5.3, 5.4, 6.1, and 6.3. The literacy specialist interview allowed me to demonstrate my reflective practices that I will use to guide my future instruction. I also demonstrated my knowledge of the low affective filter environment through my student agenda and brain breaks utilized through the spring practicum experience. Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the exercise hypothesis support these learning environment concepts and address standards 1.3 and 1.4. My final page demonstrates the 10-week practicums where I planned and instructed a student primarily addressing standards 7.1, 7.3, and 7.4, as well as standards 2.1, 2.3, 5.1, 5.3, and 6.3. Through these 2 experiences, I was able to use my knowledge of literacy practices to provide standards-based, data-driven instruction. My final page includes my references, separated through empirical articles, and then the additional references that I used. Thank you so much for viewing my portfolio. I really appreciate it.